Chapter 4. Initial Establishment of Prestige. Luo Chong crouched forward quietly, hiding his body behind the bushes, and slowly approached the terror bird. Crawling is impossible. Now he is naked and bare-buttocked. Crawling will easily rub his balls. Thinking of this, Luo Chong feels sad. The issue of clothes should be put on the agenda as soon as possible. The terror bird did not notice Luo Chong and was still enjoying its leader's corpse. Little did it know that a killing god who once made the enemies tremble in fear had already caught its attention. Luo Chong stopped when he was about 500 or 600 meters away from the moa. He would not walk up to the moa. Only a fool would race with the moa in an open field. Humans could not outrun the moa, not to mention the moa. Even the ostrich could not outrun it. He only needed to lure the moa over. A slingshot was originally a long-range weapon. First, he placed the slingshot and found the middle point of the snakeskin rope. Then Luo Chong stood up quietly and quickly rotated the slingshot. 2 stones were swung up, and the rope was instantly straightened under the action of centrifugal force. The moa immediately heard the movement and looked up at Luo Chong. The women and children at the entrance of the cave were terrified and thinking, "Oh no, this naughty kid is crazy. He's not even as tall as a bird's leg. Why are you looking for him? Hey, silly bird, come over here to your uncle." Luo Chong danced the slingshot with his hands alternately and rapidly, the speed getting faster and faster. The snake's skin was stretched straight like a stick, and from a distance it looked like Sun Wukong twirling his golden cudgel. Gah! The terror bird let out a loud cry and rushed towards Luo Chong. It was over 3 meters tall, and its legs were taller than Luo Chong. Its 2 long legs were not slow at all, and it ran half the distance of 600 meters in a blink of an eye. However, Luo Chong still stood firmly in place, waving his slingshot. The friends at the cave entrance screamed in fear and covered their eyes with their hands, but their fingers were still wide open. They were so scared that they couldn't help but peek, and they were extremely conflicted. The pregnant woman yelled at Luo Chong to run away. Luo Chong did not run, but the moa had already rushed over. When the moa was 30 meters away from Luo Chong suddenly threw the slingshot forward. The slingshot flew out from his hand like an electric fan that had lost its main shaft, spinning from a low altitude. The 2 stones spun and wrapped the snake's skin around the 2 legs of the moa. Under the pulling force of the swinging stones, the snake's skin tightened quickly and directly tied the 2 long legs together. The moa, which had rushed to within 10 meters of Luo Chong, lost its balance and fell down. The huge inertia made it slide forward another 5 meters, and finally stopped in front of Luo Chong. The fallen moa screamed and fluttered its 2 pitifully small wings, but it couldn't stand up. The woman and her friends at the entrance of the cave were all stunned, their mouths wide open, unable to believe what had just happened. It was a pity that they were not modern people, otherwise they would definitely say, "WTF? Is this even possible? Now is not the time to show off." Luo Chong quickly went around the back of the moa and tied a knot on the snake's skin on its legs to prevent the moa from struggling to break free from the slingshot. Now he felt relieved and captured the moa alive. If his brothers were here, they would definitely shout, "Boss, you are awesome." But thinking about his current look, Luo Chong lost the desire to show off in front of his friends. This is really awesome. It's so awesome. He doesn't even have underwear. What's the point of showing off? Luo Chong glanced around and saw nothing but lusts and bushes, not a single large stone. He turned around and went back to the cave entrance, picked up the large pebble he had used to weave baskets in the morning, and prepared to use this stone to end the life of the terror bird. Luo Chong didn't plan to keep it. This giant carnivorous bird could not be tamed, so it would be better to kill it and eat its meat. Seeing that the moa could not stand up, the 2 brave boys also plucked up the courage to move a stone each and follow Luo Chong. Luo Chong looked back at the 2 of them without saying a word. He shook his head and motioned for them to follow. The 3 of them came to the head of the moa together. The terror bird was still screaming and struggling, flapping its little wings and stretching its neck to peck people. The 2 friends were still a little scared and didn't know what to do. Luo Chong motioned for them to follow and watch. Then he picked up a stone and smashed it on the moa's head. Blood immediately splattered on the Moa's head, and the three of them were covered in blood. The Moa was not dead after the stone hit it, but it was a little dizzy and its struggles were much weaker. It was probably suffering a cerebral hemorrhage, perhaps stimulated by the blood. The two friends also raised stones and smashed them on the Moa's head. After 2 bangs, the Moa was completely motionless this time. Luo Chong carefully stepped forward to check it, then raised the stone again to smash the Moa's skull and kill it completely, so that it would not pretend to be dead, or suddenly attack and hurt people before it was completely dead. Don't think this is unnecessary. Animals are born with the ability to play dead. If you're not careful, it may suddenly come back to life and slip away from you. This was also Luo Chong's habit when he was doing missions. He must make sure that the target is really dead. The two friends looked at Luo Chong with awe in their eyes, but they didn't know what to say. In fact, they could already speak. Their vocal cords and tongues could fully support normal pronunciation. After all, Luo Chong's body could speak. Luo Chong untied the snake's skin on the Moa's legs and wrapped it around his buttocks again. He also took off the stone and pointed at the Moa, and then asked the two to learn from him. The two were now very obedient. They did whatever Luo Chong did. After learning 5 or 6 times, they could pronounce it correctly. As long as they reviewed it frequently in the future and didn't forget it, it would be fine. The 2 men now looked like Luo Chong's younger brothers. Together with Luo Chong, they pulled the terror bird's legs and walked towards the cave. Seeing the 3 men catching such a big prey, the friends in the cave could no longer stay and rushed out of the cave howling. A group of people dragged the legs of the terror bird back to the cave, and several children around 5 or 6 years old also picked up the stone that Luo Chong used to make a slingshot. Under the scorching sun at noon, a young boy wrapped in snakeskin briefs, followed by a group of naked children, was dragging a huge moa. There was also a 3-year-old girl riding on the moa and shouting "Oh!" They looked like they were returning in triumph, but now the scene was unbearable to watch. Too pornographic. Several women worked together to slowly push the boulder away and welcomed the children back with smiles on their faces. This was the first time in the history of their tribe that they had captured such a large prey. At the edge of the jungle in the distance, the 2 adult men hiding in the tree also witnessed the whole process of Luo Chong hunting the moa alone. But they also admired Luo Chong's behavior. The 3 of them just stole an egg, and one of them died, but Luo Chong, an underage child, captured a moa alone. They were very convinced. Primitive people didn't have so many complicated thoughts, they simply worshipped the strong. The 2 men climbed down the tree and carried back the remains of their leader. His stomach had been emptied. The women and friends didn't say anything, but they all stayed away from him. They didn't shed tears or cry. Death was too normal for them. There is a reason why there are the least adult males in primitive tribes. Adult males are the main force of hunting. Without suitable weapons, it is normal for them to die when they encounter large wild beasts. If a few people go out every morning and there are still so many when they come back at night, it is a blessing. Humans are not at the top of the food chain now, and it is really not easy to survive.